Trust broken within your own bloodline leaves wounds that never fully heal. I discovered this truth on what should have been the happiest week of my golden years. I never expected that a 7-day Caribbean cruise, meant to celebrate my 65th birthday, would become the stage where my family's facade would crumble before my eyes. My name is Loretta Jackson, and for 43 years, I've been the backbone of this family, holding everything together with calloused hands and a spine made of steel. The morning sun filtered through my curtains as I carefully packed my suitcase. My fingers trembled slightly as I folded my new gold sequin dress, the one I'd splurged on after months of saving from my retirement checks. Just this once, I had told myself, 65 years deserves something special. I paused, holding a framed photo of my late husband Gerald. He'd been gone 27 years now. Heart attack at 42. Left me with 2 children, Andre just 15 and Monique barely 12. I pressed the photo to my chest before carefully wrapping it in a blouse. I raised them right, Gerald, I whispered. I did everything I could. And I had 2 jobs for nearly 2 decades. School secretary by day, home caregiver by night. Missed school plays and basketball games because I was bathing someone else's grandmother, changing sheets, dispensing medications. Also, Andre and Monique could have opportunities one never did. Now Andre was one of Atlanta's top real estate brokers. Penthouse apartment. Luxury car. 2 beautiful children. And Monique owned a thriving salon with clients lined up for weeks. They'd made it. I'd made sure of it. Then there was Simone, my daughter-in-law of 5 years. When Andre first brought her home, I was struck by her beauty. Tall, elegant, with the kind of confidence that only comes from never having to wonder if you belong in a room. She had degrees from prestigious universities, designer clothes, and a family with old money. At first, I was grateful. My son had found someone who could elevate him even further. But beneath Simone's perfect smile lived a coldness that only I seemed to notice. When no one was looking, her eyes would scan over my modest living room, my bargain store clothes, my simple jewelry, and I could see it. Disgust. As if poverty might be contagious. Still, I kept quiet. For Andre. For the grandkids. For peace. Mom, we have a surprise for your birthday this year, Andre had announced 3 months ago during Sunday dinner. He handed me a gold-trimmed envelope, Monique grinning beside him. Inside was a cruise ticket. Not just for me, for all of us. Andre, Simone, their children, Monique, her teenage daughter. 7 days in the Caribbean. All expenses paid. To honor the woman who gave us everything, Andre said, squeezing my shoulder. Tears filled my eyes. Maybe Simone had softened. Maybe we could finally become a real family. How wrong I was. What happened on that ship would tear our family apart. Secrets would surface. Masks would fall. And the woman who had mocked me in front of strangers would lose everything in a single night. Nobody could have imagined how a luxury cruise would end with federal agents, handcuffs, and my son's life in ruins. Especially not Simone. If you've ever been looked down on by someone who thought they were better than you, this story might feel familiar. Keep watching to see how the tables turned in ways nobody saw coming. Also download your ebook titled Suspense and Family Drama Short Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Where are you watching from today? Drop your city in the comments. I'm curious to know who's following this journey with me. The Port Canaveral terminal buzzed with excitement as our family made our way through check-in. My grandchildren bounced ahead, their small suitcases bumping along behind them. Monique held my arm, pointing out the massive ship that would be our home for the next week. Can you believe it, Mama? Look at that thing, it's like a floating city. I squeezed her hand, my heart full. This was the first real vacation I'd had in decades. The last trip I took was with Gerald to Myrtle Beach in 1979, before cancer took most of our savings. Andre handled the paperwork while Simone stood to the side, tapping away on her phone in oversized sunglasses, seemingly bored by the whole process. "Mrs. Jackson, welcome aboard." The cruise staff greeted me with a tropical drink and a lei. "We have your suite ready on deck 11. Sweet. I glanced at Andre, who winked. "Only the best for you, Mama." My cabin was breathtaking. A balcony suite with ocean views, fresh flowers, and a bottle of champagne chilling on the table. I ran my hand over the plush bedding, feeling almost guilty for such luxury. That feeling wouldn't last long. The welcome dinner that evening was in the main dining room, a two-story marvel of crystal chandeliers and polished mahogany. Passengers dressed in their finest filled the tables. I'd spent weeks planning my outfit, a gold sequin dress that made me feel like royalty, paired with my mother's pearl earrings. Monique had helped me style my hair into an elegant updo. "You look stunning, Mama," she'd said, her eyes misting. "Everyone's going to notice you tonight." She was right, but not in the way I'd hoped. Our family was seated at a table with another couple, wealthy-looking retirees from Connecticut. We'd barely finished introducing ourselves when Simone and Andre arrived. She floated in wearing a form-fitting designer gown that probably cost more than my monthly pension, diamonds glittering at her throat and wrists. When she spotted me, her smile faltered for just a second before recovering. "Oh my, Mama Loretta," she said, her voice carrying to nearby tables. "That's such a bold choice. So, vintage." A few people at surrounding tables glanced over. Someone snickered. "Thank you, dear," I managed, smoothing the fabric I'd been so proud of just moments before. Throughout dinner, Simone kept finding ways to draw attention to our differences. "Loretta worked as a school secretary, can you believe it?" she told the couple from Connecticut. 40 years in the same position. Such dedication. Her tone made it sound like I'd lacked the ambition to do anything else. When I mispronounced coq au vin while ordering, she corrected me with a sweet smile. "It's French, Mama Loretta. I keep telling Andre we should take you to Paris someday. Though the culture shock might be too much." Andre said nothing. He just kept refilling his wine glass. The cruise director appeared on stage after dessert, announcing an impromptu couples dance competition. When Andre declined to participate, Simone's eyes lit up with mischief. "Mama Loretta should join. She's always talking about those church socials back in the day. Show us your moves." Before I could refuse, a spotlight found me. Guests turned expectantly. The pride I'd felt all evening vanished, replaced by a knot of dread. "Go on, Mama," Andre said, finally speaking up. "Have fun." I took a deep breath and joined the other contestants. The music started, a fast Latin beat I wasn't familiar with. I tried my best to follow along, but my heel caught the hem of my dress. I stumbled forward, arms windmilling. The room erupted in laughter. I righted myself and finished the dance, forcing a smile through burning cheeks. But the damage was done. As I returned to our table, I caught snippets of whispers. "Poor thing. Embarrassing herself. Doesn't belong here." Simone's laugh cut through it all, high and triumphant. I excused myself after dessert, claiming fatigue from the long day. Monique squeezed my hand as I left, her eyes full of concern. "Want me to come with you, Mama?" "No, sweetheart. Enjoy yourself. I'm just tired." Back in my suite, I peeled off the gold dress and sat on the balcony in my robe, watching waves ripple under the moonlight. Tears slid down my cheeks unchecked. "Gerald," I whispered to the night sky, "what am I doing here? I don't belong in this world." As I was about to head inside, voices from the neighboring balcony caught my attention. Andre and Simone's suite. That was cruel, Simone. Andre's voice, low but firm. Oh, please. It was harmless fun. It wasn't fun for my mother. Well, maybe she needs to develop thicker skin. Or at least a sense of style that doesn't scream clearance rack at JCPenney. That's enough. You know I'm right, Andre. If you want to keep climbing in this business, appearances matter. Family matters. Connections matter. Your mother is sweet, but she doesn't help our image. A pause. Then Andre, his voice weaker now, just tone it down tomorrow, okay? No defense. No real protection. Just a mild request to tone it down. I slipped inside and closed the balcony door, my heart heavier than before. Something was off about this entire trip. About Andre's business. About his marriage. And I was starting to wonder if this birthday gift was about celebrating me at all. If you've ever had someone close to you stand by while you were mistreated, you know that silence can hurt more than words. But what was coming next would show me just how deep this betrayal went. Is there someone in your life who didn't stand up for you when they should have? Comment below. I'm reading your stories. Morning came with a knock at my door. Breakfast delivery. I hadn't ordered anything. The card read, "Sorry about last night. Love, Monique." My daughter knew exactly what I needed: comfort food and privacy. I spent most of the day exploring the ship alone, avoiding the family excursion to the first port of call. "You'll get tired walking around that marketplace," Simone had said at breakfast when I mentioned possibly joining them. "Besides, you'd hate the haggling. It's quite aggressive." Andre had simply nodded in agreement. The son who once begged me to come to every school event now couldn't look me in the eye. By the third day, Simone's tactics had evolved. She'd helpfully point out whenever I used the wrong fork or misunderstood a cruise custom. She'd translate simple terms for me as if I spoke a different language. "That's sushi, Mama Loretta. Raw fish, probably too exotic for your palate." Each barb was delivered with a smile, each criticism wrapped in concern. I struggled with how to respond. My instinct was to snap back, to defend myself. To remind her that while I might not know which wine paired with salmon, I knew how to raise children who respected others. I knew how to build a life from nothing. But I bit my tongue. For Andre. For the grandchildren. For peace on this floating palace where we were all trapped together. "You need to say something to her," Monique urged during our afternoon tea, away from the others. "She's walking all over you, and Andre is letting her." "What good would it do?" I asked, watching the ocean stretch endlessly before us. "It would just create more tension." "Since when does Loretta Jackson back down from a fight?" Monique's eyes flashed. She had my fire, always had. "Since I realized some battles aren't worth the casualties," I replied, thinking of my grandchildren's faces if I confronted their mother. The fourth night was the captain's gala, the most formal evening of the cruise. Monique helped me prepare, selecting a navy blue gown with silver embellishments that complemented my silver hair. I wore my late mother's pearl necklace, simple but elegant. "You look beautiful, Mama," Monique said, adjusting the necklace. "And more importantly, you look like yourself." The grand ballroom was transformed for the evening. Ice sculptures, champagne fountains, a string quartet. For a moment, I allowed myself to enjoy the splendor. That moment ended when Simone and Andre arrived. She wore a floor-length silver gown that caught every light, diamonds dripping from her ears and throat. She looked like a movie star. As we took our seats at the captain's table, an honor apparently arranged through Simone's connections, she leaned toward the captain's wife and whispered, just loud enough for nearby guests to hear, "We brought Andre's mother along. She's never experienced anything like this. We're hoping she doesn't trip again." Laughter rippled through our section of the table. André stared at his plate. Throughout dinner, Simone dominated the conversation with stories of their travels, their business successes, their plans for expansion. I was rendered invisible, until dessert arrived and Simone turned to me. Mama Loretta, you must try the crème brûlée. Though it might be a bit different from the pudding cups you're used to. More gentle laughter. More burning shame. I excused myself, claiming I needed fresh air. Instead of heading to the deck, I found myself wandering down a quiet corridor, seeking solitude. That's when I heard her voice. Simone was standing in an alcove with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, sharp-featured, in an expensive suit. I ducked behind a column, my heart suddenly racing. You promised it would be handled before we left, Simone hissed, her voice stripped of its usual polish. I can't keep pretending everything's fine. André's mother is already suspicious. The man glanced around nervously. I told you, Simone, as long as the money keeps flowing, no one will find out. But if the investors start digging deeper, you're both finished. Keep them happy, she said, gripping his arm. The commission from the Westlake property will cover most of it. Most isn't all, Simone. You're short $2 million at least. I'll get it. The fundraiser next month. That's too late. They want proof now, or they go to the feds. Simone paled. You can't let that happen. André cannot know. Not yet. Then find the money, the man said coldly. Or start planning for a life without all this. He gestured to her gown, her jewelry. She straightened, smoothing her dress. I'll handle it. I always do. They parted ways, Simone heading back toward the ballroom. I pressed myself against the wall, heart pounding. What had I just witnessed? What money? What investors? What was she hiding from André? I returned to the gala in a daze, watching Simone laugh and charm as if nothing had happened. But now I saw what hid behind her glittering smile, desperation. Later that night, I stood on my balcony, piecing together fragments of conversations I'd overheard over the past year. André's sudden wealth. The new development project he couldn't discuss in detail. Simone's insistence on maintaining certain appearances. Something was very wrong with my son's business. With his marriage. With his life. And based on what I'd overheard, it wasn't just their reputation at stake. It was their freedom. Have you ever discovered a secret that changed how you saw someone? A truth that made you question everything? Let me know in the comments. The fifth night featured family karaoke in the ship's lounge, an event my grandchildren had circled on the itinerary weeks ago. For the first time since boarding, I felt a flicker of genuine joy watching 10-year-old Zoe belt out her favorite pop song, her brother Tyler providing enthusiastic backup dancing. Even Monique's teenage daughter Riley overcame her shyness to perform. I clapped until my hands hurt, grateful for this glimpse of normal family happiness. André seemed relaxed too, his arm draped around Simone's shoulders as they cheered for the children. She leaned into him, whispering something that made him laugh. A real laugh, not the tense chuckle I'd heard all week. For a moment, I wondered if I'd misunderstood everything. Maybe the conversation I'd overheard was innocent. Maybe Simone's cruelty was just social awkwardness. Maybe. Ladies and gentlemen. The cruise director's voice boomed through the lounge. We have a special treat tonight. We're honored to have with us a power couple celebrating a huge upcoming business expansion, André and Simone Jackson. A spotlight swung to their table. Applause filled the room. André looked surprised but pleased, straightening his jacket as he stood. Simone rose gracefully beside him, her smile dazzling as she took the microphone. Thank you, everyone. This is so unexpected. She glanced at André with practiced adoration. As many of you know, Andre and I have been developing a luxury condo project in Atlanta, Blackwater Heights. And thanks to some incredibly generous investments, we're about to make our dream a reality. My blood ran cold. Investments. The same word I'd heard in that hushed corridor conversation. In fact, Simone continued, several of our investors are on board with us tonight. We'll be hosting a special preview event tomorrow for anyone interested in getting in early on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Andre nodded along, but I caught something in his expression. A flicker of confusion? Concern? It vanished quickly as he took the microphone. Yes, we're very excited. And very grateful to everyone who's helped us get this far. His eyes found mine across the room. Something in them looked almost apologetic. After the karaoke night ended, I couldn't sleep. The pieces weren't fitting together. Andre seemed surprised by the announcement. The mysterious man had mentioned investors going to the feds. And now Simone was recruiting more investors on the cruise. By 1 a.m., I'd made my decision. I had to talk to Andre, alone. I threw on a robe and made my way to their suite, heart pounding as I knocked softly. After a long moment, the door cracked open. Andre stood there, hair mussed from sleep. Mama? What's wrong? Is everything okay? We need to talk, I whispered. Privately. He glanced behind him, then stepped into the hallway, pulling the door mostly closed. What is it? It's the middle of the night. Andre, I overheard Simone talking to a man after the captain's gala. Something about money and investors digging and going to the feds. I'm worried about what you two are involved in. His face changed, shock then fear, then a flash of anger. You were eavesdropping on my wife. Not intentionally. The door swung open wider. Simone stood there in a silk nightgown, her face stripped of makeup but her eyes sharp as knives. What's going on? She demanded. Andre ran a hand through his hair. Mama thinks she heard something concerning. About the business. Simone's eyes narrowed as they fixed on me. The pretense of politeness vanished completely. So you've been sneaking around, listening to private conversations? Her voice was ice. I knew you were trying to undermine me, but this is a new low. Simone, I'm not trying to undermine anyone, I said, struggling to keep my voice steady. I'm concerned about my son. No, you're jealous, she snapped. You can't stand that Andre married someone better than you. Someone with class, with connections. You've been trying to sabotage us from day one because you can't accept that Andre has outgrown you. That's not true, I said, fighting back tears. Andre, you know that's not true. My son stood between us, his face a mask of indecision. Mama, maybe you misunderstood what you heard. Business talk can sound complicated to outsiders. Outsiders. The word stung like a slap. I'm your mother. And I'm his wife, Simone cut in. The mother of his children. His partner in everything. She turned to Andre, her voice hardening. Either you tell her to back off, or I'm taking the kids and leaving. I won't have her ruin everything we've built. I looked at my son, the boy I'd raised alone, the man I'd sacrificed everything for, silently begging him to see through this woman's manipulation. But he lowered his eyes. Mama. Please. Just stay out of it. You don't understand how these things work. In that moment, something inside me broke. The son who once brought me dandelions and handmade cards had chosen his wife's lies over his mother's concern. I understand more than you think, I whispered, backing away. I understand loyalty. And I understand betrayal. I returned to my cabin, tears flowing freely now. Outside my window, the moon cast a silver path across the dark water, a path leading nowhere. I thought the pain of that moment was the worst I would feel on this cruise. I was wrong. The very next night, everything would change. An unexpected storm was brewing, one that would wash away the foundations of André and Simone's carefully constructed life. The truth always rises to the surface. Sometimes it just needs a wave big enough to carry it to shore. Have you ever had to watch someone you love make a terrible mistake? Did you step in or step back? Share your experience below. I'm listening. The sixth night of our cruise marked the most exclusive event of the journey, a private island gala under the stars. The cruise line had transformed their private Bahamian island into a wonderland of twinkling lights, white linen-draped tables, and champagne fountains flowing like waterfalls. I almost didn't attend. After André's betrayal, I'd spent the day in my cabin, alternating between tears and anger. But Monique wouldn't let me hide. "You're going to put on this dress," she said, laying out a stunning royal purple gown she'd bought at the ship's boutique, "and you're going to hold your head high. We're not giving Simone the satisfaction of breaking you." The dress fit perfectly, hugging my curves in all the right places. Monique styled my hair in a sleek updo, adding silver hairpins that caught the light. "There," she said, turning me toward the mirror. "Now that's Loretta Jackson, the woman who raised 2 kids alone, who never backed down from a challenge, who taught me what real strength looks like." For the first time that week, I recognized myself. We arrived at the beach pavilion just as sunset painted the sky in shades of gold and pink. Crystal chandeliers hung from bamboo structures, creating pools of light on the white sand. A string quartet played softly as waiters circulated with trays of champagne and hors d'oeuvres. André and Simone were already holding court near the center of the pavilion. She wore a backless white gown that seemed to glow in the fading light, her hair swept up to showcase a necklace that must have cost more than my house. André stood beside her in a white dinner jacket, smiling as she introduced him to various well-dressed couples. "The investors," Monique whispered, following my gaze. "She's been recruiting all week. I overheard her at the pool yesterday, promising guaranteed returns that sounded way too good to be true." I watched as Simone laughed at something an older gentleman said, touching his arm in that practiced way of hers. She looked like she owned the world. The ship's captain tapped a microphone, calling for attention. "Ladies and gentlemen, before dinner is served, we have a special presentation from 2 of our distinguished guests. Please welcome André and Simone Jackson to tell us about an exciting investment opportunity." Applause rippled through the crowd as Simone took the microphone, André standing proudly beside her. "Thank you all for coming tonight," she began, her voice smooth as honey. "André and I are thrilled to share a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity with this select group. Blackwater Heights isn't just a luxury condo development, it's a lifestyle revolution." She gestured to a digital screen where renderings appeared. Sleek high-rises with infinity pools, helicopter pads, private elevators. "Phase 1 is already 80% funded," she continued, with groundbreaking scheduled for next month. "But tonight only, we're offering a special pre-construction rate for a limited number of units." André stepped forward to add, "We've already secured commitments from celebrities, tech executives, and Federal Bureau of Investigation. Nobody move." The command cut through the night air like a thunderclap. Everyone froze. 2 men in dark suits strode into the pavilion, followed by uniformed officers. The lead agent flashed a badge. "Simone Jackson," he called out. The microphone slipped from her fingers, thudding against the wooden platform. "I'm Special Agent Reynolds, FBI. This is Special Agent Cortez. Mrs. Jackson, you're under arrest for securities fraud, wire fraud, and embezzlement." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Someone dropped a champagne glass. "There must be some mistake," André stepped forward, his face drained of color. "My wife hasn't done anything wrong." "Sir, step back. Agent Cortez warned. "We have a warrant for her arrest." As they approached the platform, Simone's composure crumbled. "Andre, call Richard. Tell him to fix this." Agent Reynolds reached the stage, handcuffs glinting in the chandelier light. "Mrs. Jackson, you have the right to remain silent." I watched in stunned silence as they cuffed my daughter-in-law's wrists behind her back, the same wrists that had been draped in diamonds moments before. "What's happening?" Andre demanded, his voice cracking. "Someone explain what's happening." Agent Reynolds turned to address the murmuring crowd. "Mrs. Jackson has been operating a Ponzi scheme through Blackwater Development Group. There is no real estate project. No permits have been filed. No land has been purchased. She's been using new investor funds to pay returns to earlier investors while siphoning millions for personal use." Andre staggered backward as if physically struck. "That's not possible. I'm the CEO of Blackwater. I would know if—" "According to our investigation, you're CEO in name only, Mr. Jackson," Agent Cortez said. "Your wife has been running the operation through a series of shell companies. All major decisions and financial transactions went through her or her associate, Richard Langley." The name hit me like a blow. The man from the corridor. Simone's secret partner. "I didn't know," Andre whispered, looking lost. "I swear I didn't know." As they led Simone away, she finally looked in my direction. Gone was the polished socialite who had mocked my clothes, my speech, my very existence. In her place stood a desperate woman whose carefully constructed life was collapsing around her. Her eyes locked with mine across the pavilion, pleading, angry, defeated. I didn't look away. I didn't smile. I simply watched as justice arrived in the most unexpected way. The gala dissolved into chaos. Investors demanded answers. Security tried to restore order. The captain apologized profusely for the unfortunate incident. I found Andre sitting alone on the beach, head in his hands, as the party emptied behind him. Without a word, I sat beside him on the sand, my purple gown pooling around me. "I didn't know," he repeated, voice hollow. "She handled all the financial aspects. I was just the face of the company. The name people recognized from real estate circles." "I believe you," I said softly. "Everything is gone, isn't it? Our home, our savings, my reputation." I placed my hand over his. "Not everything." He looked at me then, really looked at me, for the first time since we'd boarded this ship. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face stripped of the confidence he'd worn like armor. "I'm sorry, Mama," he whispered. "I should have listened to you." Sometimes life's most important lessons come wrapped in the most painful packages. As the moon rose over that private island, my son learned what I'd known all along, that true worth isn't measured in designer clothes or diamond necklaces. And sometimes, the woman everyone laughed at ends up being the only one left standing. Have you ever witnessed someone's true character revealed in a moment of crisis? Share your experience in the comments. The journey home felt longer than the entire cruise. We flew back to Atlanta with the weight of what happened pressing down on all of us. The grandchildren didn't understand why their mother wasn't coming home with us, why their father barely spoke, why adults whispered when they thought the kids couldn't hear. "She's helping the police with an investigation," Andre told them, his voice hollow. The reality hit full force when we arrived at their Buckhead mansion. FBI agents were already there, removing computers, files, artwork, even Simone's collection of designer handbags. "Everything purchased in the last 5 years is subject to seizure," an agent explained, not unkindly. "Evidence suggests most assets were acquired with fraudulent funds." The children cried as strangers carried away their gaming systems, their mother's jewelry, even the family photos in expensive frames. Monique took them to her house while Andre dealt with the aftermath. Within days, the story broke across local news, then national. Atlanta power couple's empire built on sand read one headline. Luxury lifestyle funded by massive fraud, screamed another. Details emerged that shocked even me. Simone had created a web of fake companies, falsified documents, and manipulated financial statements. She'd stolen over $11 million from investors while maintaining the illusion of a successful development company. Andre wasn't charged. The investigation confirmed he'd been kept in the dark, his signature forged on key documents. But that didn't save him from financial ruin. The bank foreclosed on their home. His car was repossessed. His business reputation, built over 15 years, vanished overnight. Former friends and colleagues stopped taking his calls. Clients disappeared. 3 weeks after we returned, Andre showed up at my doorstep with 2 suitcases and his children. "We have nowhere else to go," he admitted, unable to meet my eyes. "Just until I figure something out." "This is your home," I said, opening the door wider. "It always has been." My modest 3-bedroom house in College Park felt crowded with the addition of 3 people, but we made it work. The kids shared the spare room, Andre took the sofa. We fell into a routine: breakfast together, school drop-offs, dinner around my small kitchen table. At first, Andre was a ghost of himself. He'd sit on the back porch for hours, staring at nothing, barely speaking. The man who once commanded rooms full of executives now couldn't look the grocery store cashier in the eye. "Give him time," Monique advised. His whole identity was tied to that life, that image. I did give him time, but I also gave him purpose. I asked for help with household repairs I could have managed myself. I consulted him on decisions I could have made alone. I reminded him, in 100 small ways, that his value had never been in his bank account. Slowly, I got my son back. Not the polished real estate broker, but the boy with a kind heart who'd once mowed elderly neighbors' lawns for free. 2 months after moving in, he found work with a construction company. Starting at the bottom, learning the physical side of the business he'd only known from blueprints and balance sheets. "It feels good," he confessed one night as we sat on the porch. "Creating something real with my hands. Knowing what I built actually exists." As for Simone, she took a plea deal, 15 years with possibility of parole after 7. The prosecution had an airtight case, strengthened by Richard Langley's decision to cooperate in exchange for reduced charges. Andre visited her once, alone. "She blamed me," he told me afterward. "Said if I'd been smarter with money, she wouldn't have had to get creative with financing. Said I forced her to maintain a lifestyle I couldn't actually afford." "And what did you say?" I asked. "I said goodbye." He filed for divorce the next day. 6 months after the cruise, we celebrated my 66th birthday at home. A simple barbecue in the backyard with Monique's family, Andre, and the grandkids. No fancy clothes, no pretense. Just family. As I watched Andre flipping burgers, laughing at something his daughter said, I felt a peace I hadn't known in years. The son who had been lost to me behind a wall of wealth and privilege had found his way back. That night, after everyone had gone to bed, Andre joined me on the porch swing. Just like when he was young and troubled about something at school. "You know what I realized, Mama?" he said, staring up at the stars. "All those years I thought I was climbing up, I was actually falling. And all those times Simone made me feel ashamed of where I came from, of you, she was actually showing me who she really was." I patted his hand. Life has a way of revealing truth, one way or another. Sometimes it takes a storm to clear the air. "I'm sorry I let her hurt you," he whispered. "I should have defended you." "You're here now," I said simply. "That's what matters." In the end, what happened on that cruise wasn't just about Simone's crimes or Andre's blindness. It was about the masks we wear, the values we choose, and the price of forgetting where we come from. Sometimes those who laugh at you today cry tomorrow. And sometimes, the simple life you thought wasn't good enough turns out to be the only thing that saves you. What's your definition of true wealth? Is it money in the bank or something money can't buy? Share your thoughts below. It's been 18 months since that fateful cruise. Life has settled into a new normal that feels more authentic than the pretense that came before. Andre has moved into his own apartment. Nothing fancy, but a place he can truly afford. He's working his way up at the construction company, recently promoted to project manager. The kids spend weekends with him and weekdays with me while he works long hours. Sometimes at night, I find him at the kitchen table with blueprints spread out, designing small, affordable housing concepts, buildings real families could actually live in. There's a light in his eyes when he talks about them, a passion that never existed when he was selling luxury condos to people who already owned 3 homes. I want to build something that matters, he told me. Something honest. Monique's salon has expanded to 2 locations. She never got caught up in Simone's world of excess, always staying true to herself. Her daughter is heading to college next fall, the first in our family to do so. As for me, I've started volunteering at the senior center, organizing activities for folks who, like me, have seen enough of life to know what truly matters. There's something healing about sharing stories with people who understand the value of resilience. Last month, we received a letter from Simone. She's eligible for parole in 4 years with good behavior. She wanted to apologize, she said. To explain. Andre read it once and threw it away. Some bridges can't be rebuilt, he said. And some shouldn't be. The cruise company sent us a full refund after the incident made national news. We used the money to take a different kind of family trip, a weekend at a simple cabin in the Blue Ridge Mountains. No fancy clothes required, no social hierarchy to navigate. Just hiking, board games, and conversations that lasted late into the night. It was the best vacation of my life. Looking back now at that woman in the gold sequin dress, the one who felt so out of place, so judged, I wish I could tell her something. Your worth was never determined by others' opinions. Your value was never in doubt. And your son would find his way back to you. If there's anything I've learned from this journey, it's that appearances fade. Designer clothes go out of style. Luxury homes can be foreclosed. But the foundation of family, real family, built on love and respect, can weather any storm. To those of you watching who felt judged for where you come from or what you own, remember this: character outlasts wealth. Integrity outlasts fashion. And the truth always, always rises to the surface. If my story resonated with you, hit that subscribe button. I share a new family drama each week, and trust me, my next story about holiday revenge has a twist you won't see coming. What was the moment in this story that hit you the hardest? Was it when Andre chose Simone over me, when the FBI arrived, or when he finally returned home? Let me know in the comments below. Where are you watching from today? I love connecting with viewers from around the world. Lastly, download your ebook titled Suspense and Family Drama Short Stories by clicking the link in the pinned comment. Remember, family isn't about who has the most money or the biggest house. It's about who stays when the money runs out and the house is gone. That's the lesson my son had to learn the hard way, but some lessons are worth the price.